I, 18 female, have a young teen sister. I currently work and study simultaneously and make around 500 or 600 euros every month, and 250 euros of that goes to my one-bedroom apartment. I pay for electricity, Wi-Fi, food, etc., and saved up some money from my paycheck these past 2 months to buy her something nice. She'd requested this perfume from Sephora, which costs around 80 euros, this makeup kit from Benefit, which retails for around 40 euros, and many more things in that price range. The money I saved was in my bank account, but sadly I had a leak in my kitchen, and the entire room was basically flooded, which meant I had to pay for cleaning and installing a new pipe in the kitchen so the water wouldn't leak again, and I had to cut back on my budget. I promised that I would try to get her some things off her wish list, but now I couldn't. Instead, I went to the beauty supply store and got her this big makeup kit the size of a microwave, heck, even bigger, filled with normally priced makeup that retails for about 60 or 70 euros. It includes foundation, eyeshadow, lip gloss, etc. It looks like one of those makeup kits makeup artists use, and it's fairly priced but doesn't include high-end products. On Christmas Day, my sister saw the big present and got fairly excited. To be exact, my brother thought it was a PS4, that's how big the makeup kit is. Once she opened it, she didn't know how to react but smiled and thanked me. She continued to open the rest and saw that it was the only thing I'd gotten her. She immediately began to lash out and tell me that I promised to get her certain things off her wish list. I tried to explain to her that I couldn't afford it due to my kitchen practically leaking, but she said I shouldn't have promised her anything she wanted if I couldn't go through with it. We haven't spoken since Christmas, and I have to see her on New Year. My mum said she hadn't touched my present and that since it was unopened I should take it back and save up more money to make it up to her, like treat her for something nice. She suggested either taking her to the amusement park in Denmark, since it's a short train ride, or taking her out for a shopping trip or something. But I genuinely don't even think that's going to make up for it, because you need money to do those things properly. I'm just upset because I got her something for a fair price and had to cut back on things for myself and my brother to make her happy. My parents refused Christmas presents from us, so I didn't spend on them. I don't know. I understand I promised her, but I just wasn't doing well financially, and I barely had the money for anything and thought she would like it, but she didn't. She hasn't spoken to me ever since, and it's messing with me. So, am I the idiot? Edit, my mom knows about the repairs, and I assume she told her. I didn't ask for anything for Christmas since I hate receiving gifts. You are not the idiot, your sister is. She knows that you've been having trouble financially and she gets mad that you didn't get a makeup thingy or whatever. The thing is, I think that you're a great big sister because you still bought her something along the lines of what she asked. If my brother's had issues with money and so much as bought me a 20-cent candy bar, I'd love it. No, her sister is not the idiot either. She's a very young teen. If someone is going to be the idiot in this story, it has to be the parents. They haven't taught the youngest daughter that stuff happens in life, and her sister wasn't mean to her. She promised to try to get her what she wanted, and even if she did promise, there are higher priorities in life. You should make it up to her. That's laughably entitled, not just on your sister's part, but on your mother's. You had a literal emergency to take care of. Obviously, your funds would go toward that before anyone's Christmas presents. In your shoes, I would return it as demanded, keep the money for my own needs, and never buy another gift for someone so spoiled and ungrateful. You are the idiot for making a promise you couldn't keep. I understand that things happen, but you should always have emergency money aside and not use your only savings for presents. More importantly, you allowed your sister to think she was still getting those gifts and never bothered to explain what happened in your apartment. So, obviously, you set her up for disappointment. And I think you should do a little research to ensure that your landlord isn't responsible for your repairs. There are a lot of bad landlords out there. You might even be able to sue him for the repairs to your leak and also the previous repair. Finally, take 30 seconds to Google your situation before paying for more repairs to your apartment. Your landlord has been cheating you unless you own the flat, and you probably don't at age 18. My 39 female daughter, teen, has had a sensitive stomach ever since she was a kid. Certain foods will upset her stomach to the point where she cannot stop throwing up. We've seen countless doctors, but so far nobody's been able to give us a clear answer. The only advice we keep getting is to identify all trigger foods and cut them from her diet. We've had a pretty good idea of those foods: soda and other carbonated drinks, chips, Cheetos, and other similar processed snacks, anything oily or fried, and most sweets. Unfortunately, this is exactly the kind of stuff my daughter loves to eat the most, and as horrible as she feels after she has them, she still refuses to cut them out of her diet, which led to her spending a lot of time in the hospital during the past few years. When she was little, keeping all these foods away from her was easier because I simply wouldn't buy them, but now that she's older, I can't always be there to check what she eats. She eats the greasy pizza at her school's cafeteria, trades her lunch with her classmates, goes out with her friends and stops to eat at KFC and so on. And it always ends with her in the ER, crying and shaking because she can't stop throwing up. This was the case on this Christmas Eve when our whole family gathered at our place. And of course, among the many dishes at our Christmas table were some of her main trigger foods like chips, soda, chocolate and sweets. Now mind you, these were far from the only foods available to her. We also had a variety of home-cooked traditional dishes on the table, with ingredients that didn't upset her stomach, like vegetables, meat, dairy, etc. They're delicious and well-seasoned. My daughter says she likes most of these dishes. Despite this, my daughter chose to eat nothing but her trigger foods. I reminded her they'd make her feel awful, but she said she didn't care because Christmas is only once a year and she just wants to live a little. Well, this ended with her violently throwing up in the ER a few hours later. She had to be hospitalized for a few days and only just got out of the hospital a few hours ago. And unlike all the previous time when something like this happened, this time I chose to spend my Christmas relaxing at home with the rest of our family and not in the hospital by my daughter's side. I kept in touch with her through calls and texts and told her that if she needed anything, I'd ask a family member to bring it to her. But I made it clear that I would not be visiting her during her stay. And well, my daughter didn't take this too well. She cried every time we talked on the phone, begged me to come over, told me how horrible I was for abandoning her there all alone, and so on. Most of our family didn't take my side in this either, and during the past few days I got called everything from a little extreme to downright cruel and heartless. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. It sounds pretty serious. If my diabetic baby cousins can handle not eating candy and sodas, your daughter should be able to. She knew the consequences. Yes, it sucks. No, that doesn't mean you should have to endure the consequences too. And no, not everybody should have to suffer by hiding all her trigger foods. You are the idiot. I could see not spending all of Christmas Day with her, but not visiting her the entire time she was in the hospital. She's a child. It's pretty cruel to leave her in the hospital without a parent, regardless of the reason. She's clearly struggling with her illness. Why haven't you gotten her a counselor? Disagree. She knew exactly what she was doing. She knew she would end up in the hospital, and she knew she'd end up ruining everybody else's holidays. At her age, she should be well aware of the way her actions affect others, including her parents, and she clearly either doesn't see this or worse, knows and doesn't care and wants everyone to share in her misery. I think what you did falls under tough love. You gave her a much-needed wake-up call. Hopefully she'll understand she can't keep doing this to herself and expect Mommy to be okay with it, and she'll learn to be more careful with her diet, for her own sake and for other people's. And as other people say, please consider sending her to therapy. I, 27 female, have been married to my husband, 27, for 5 years, together for 6 years. We met in college when we were 21 and dated for 8 months before he asked me to marry him, and I said yes. 4 months later, we were married on our 1-year dating anniversary. I've never met his parents. For the first 6 months of our relationship, he would talk about them all the time, how they were great parents, how I was going to love them, they were going to love me, and all of that. And then, all of a sudden, he told me he wasn't on speaking terms with them anymore. I was very confused at the time and tried to get him to talk about it, but no such luck. He just told me they had a fight, it wasn't something he could forgive, and that was that. I met most of his family at the wedding or during the preparations for it. I truly adore them. We were spending Christmas with his paternal grandparents. His parents were with his mother's parents, I think, when his cousin accidentally let slip why my husband fought with his parents. He told them he wanted to marry me. They accused me of being a gold digger, with more polite wording. My husband has confirmed this. My husband's family does have a lot of money, the generational kind of wealth, and we did the whole meeting, getting engaged, getting married quite quickly, to be fair to his parents. But the thing is, my family has more money than his family, and hubby knew it too. I would be a less than stellar gold digger if that was my intent. So, upon learning what happened, I thought it was amusing. Never in my life have I been accused of trying to social climb, lol. Maybe if I'd known at the time, I would have been offended. But today, I just find it funny. I told my husband he should contact his parents and try to mend their relationship. They were just worried for his sake. While I'm truly grateful he stuck by me and defended me so strongly, there's no need for that anymore. He didn't want to hear it. At this point, I was a little bit exasperated. His parents were worried and had no way of knowing better. I told him it was silly to stay in no contact with them after all this time for such a small offence. My honour has already recovered from learning what they said. Well, he was upset about that last bit, saying it was silly. Things have gotten back to normal since we last talked about it yesterday morning, but I'm wondering, am I the idiot? Should I apologise? I just think it makes no sense to throw away such a great parental relationship for something about me that I'm not even bothered with. You are the idiot, really gently. I know with the distance of time it doesn't seem like a big deal to you, but you forget a few things. He still hasn't told you the whole story. People don't cut off their parents for years because of one little remark. They cut off their parents because that remark was the last straw. There's more to this. I think you should apologise for minimising his experience and say that from now on, however, he wants to manage his parents and you're on his side. Well, here's a question for you. If you didn't come from wealth and they treated you as a gold digger, do you actually think that you'd be laughing this off as no big deal? At the end of the day, whatever happened was enough that a guy who previously had a close relationship with his parents decided he wanted to go no contact. This generally isn't a decision made lightly. Is your husband the sort of person who cuts people off willy-nilly? So yeah, you are the idiot for telling him it's silly and a small offence. Clearly it wasn't to him. My husband, Will, 35, and I, female 36, have 3 kids: Adam, male tween, Maddie, female 2 years younger, and Megan, female younger child. Will has always been into video games, Star Wars, anime, etc. It's never been my cup of tea, but I think it's healthy that we have separate hobbies and interests, and we have other stuff in common. When we had Adam, Will was super excited to share his interests with him and bought him Star Wars-themed baby grows and toys, etc. For Adam's first Halloween, Will dressed him up as Darth Vader and it was super cute. It was the same for the girls. I did tell Will that I had no issue with this while the kids were small, but we had to let them develop their own interests. As it turns out, both Adam and Maddie love playing computer games with their dad and have similar interests, so there have been no issues. The problem now is that as Megan is getting older, she's showing more interest in princesses and Barbies, etc., and finds her dad's and siblings' interests boring. Will has an issue with this and keeps trying to encourage Megan more towards his interests. For example, at Halloween, he seemed annoyed that Megan wanted to dress as Elsa, as he always took pride in Maddie not dressing up as a princess, like lots of her classmates. This Christmas, it's come to a head as Will spent all of Boxing Day playing the Switch with Adam and Maddie and helping them build Lego while leaving Megan out. Will has offered Megan to play with them, but she wants to play with her new toys and the games that she likes. I played with Megan most of the day, but she asked if she could play her new Barbie game on the Switch for a while with her dad. So I told them all to let her have a turn and play the Barbie game with Megan. Adam and Maddie were fine and seemed to have fun, but Will kept making fun of the game and telling Megan that other games like Mario Kart were far more fun. I could see Megan losing confidence in wanting to play the game, and she started to say she didn't want to play anymore. So I pulled Will aside and told him off and said that while he was a great dad to Adam and Maddie, he was a bad dad to Megan by ignoring her interests. Will was hurt by being called a bad dad and has been quiet ever since. The kids are now starting to notice that their dad is upset. I'm wondering if I was too harsh, as he's generally a good dad, and I do know that he loves Megan as much as he loves Adam and Maddie. Not the idiot. He sounds almost misogynistic. He doesn't like that the youngest girl likes girl things. He took pride in Maddie not wanting to dress up like a princess and having interests that are less typically girl interests. Kinda screams he's proud because she's not like other girls. He discourages and criticizes things he thinks are stupid, which again seems to line up with girly things. This just might be something to think about and consider seriously. I get being bored or annoyed with a kid's video game, but criticizing it and putting your kid's interests down is just gross. I may also just expect more emotional maturity and emotional intelligence from an adult though. It needs to be said, whether he realizes it or not, your husband is alienating one of his children, and he needs to correct that before it's too late. No idea if you were too hard on Will or not, but don't be that woman who feels like she has to make her husband feel better because he feels bad about messing up. If he messed around, and it sounds like he did, it's okay for him to feel bad until he apologizes and tries to fix it. You don't have to fix this for him. I cannot believe I'm writing this, but I'm actually arguing about this with my boyfriend. Long story short, we've been dating for about 3 months, and we always hang out at his place for one reason or another. This year for Christmas, neither of us went to visit family for logistical reasons, so we thought we'd spend the weekend together at mine. For one of the days, we purposefully planned to stay home the whole day. Ever since I was young, I've always loved wearing robes at home. I have a super soft and fluffy one, and I usually layer it over my at-home clothes. I basically treat my robe like a jacket. It's also extra nice because it's freezing where I live. The day started out fine, but after a few hours my boyfriend kept giving me weird looks because he finally asked me to take my robe off and put on normal clothes. I asked him what he meant because we were both basically matching, except for the robe. We both had on sweatpants and a sweater. I just had the extra robe. He said the robe made me look lazy and he kind of hated it. It's a totally new robe, so it's not like it was shabby, so I said no. We were at home alone, not expecting guests, and literally doing nothing except eating snacks and watching TV. I wanted to be comfortable. We ended up arguing about it, which ruined the day for me. We talked it over and he said I was an idiot for not being willing to compromise. I told him he wasn't being fair because it was me being comfortable in my own home, and his only reason for not wanting me to wear it was I looked lazy in it. Also, just to be clear, I do not wear the robe in public or in front of guests. Not the idiot. 3 months in, he's trying to control what you wear while in your own home, no less. It's comfy clothing. You're allowed to look lazy when you're having a lazy day. I'd seriously reconsider this relationship, especially if he's giving this much of a red flag this early on. Right? This really got me. He said I was an idiot for not being willing to compromise. Compromise about what? Is OP going to wear half a robe? Maybe a terry cloth pantsuit, a pair of starched and ironed pajamas he deems as productive looking enough for a day lounging at home? No, he doesn't want to compromise. He wants evidence that OP will give in to his wants and whims without asking questions or voicing opinions. This is very, a housewife must have a dress and makeup on all day in case someone comes to call, and so her husband will literally never ever see her with her makeup off. Exactly. Some things you need to come to a compromise on, and others, one person is just plain wrong and needs to sit down and shut up. A lot of people, controlling idiots, like to throw around the compromise flag because it sounds reasonable and mature. In reality, it's a power play. It's your home. He's a guest. He has no reason to boss you around. If he thinks you look lazy in a robe, I can't imagine what he's going to think on days when you're in pajamas, no makeup and just relaxing. The good thing is that it's only been 3 months. Dump him and move on. Don't stay with someone like him. He's showing you what he is like, and it will only worsen.